Earlier today, I was making second breakfast, and my buddy John brought by some scrap beechwood he had laying around. Beechwood is a very lightweight, but very durable, splinter-free hardwood. I started thinking, what could we make out of this? And the first idea came to mind. A sword. Or 3 swords. Or, better yet, I could use 3 little knives for spreading jam at third breakfast. Now the first stop on our creative journey is ideation. Our goal is to generate as many different concepts as we can in a short amount of time. Here we've got some thumbnailing, starting with sharp forms, moving to rounder forms, exploring some cylindrical knives, and we'll draw a hand for scale to make sure our knife fits proportionally in the palm. And let's list out some use cases, as well as make a trajectory up top. If you aim at nothing, you hit nothing, and it's key to know where you're going in this process. My favorite tool for shading is a Copic N2. N2 means 20% gray. I lost mine. This is an N3, and it appears to be dead. So we'll use the other end, and it also appears to be dying. That's okay. Let's try blue. We're going to add some light blue shading, and unfortunately, it looks like rubbish. Let's advance to plan C. We're going to take some day-old room temperature coffee with a little bit of whole milk, and using a foam brush, let's apply a light brown wash. And how about that? This doesn't look that bad, eh? Keep going. You can be quick, you can be fast, and you'll want to make your down selects before the coffee dries and your shading disappears altogether. I'm really drawn to this knife. I like these continuous curves, how they connect with that straight line. And I like that line as well. We also could put a nice hole right there. This knife feels a little sharper, a little more elegant. And I like how these curves connect and interact. And I'm particularly drawn to this popsicle stick nubby looking thing. That said, we've got knife 1, knife 2, and knife 3, which we'll take into Illustrator. Once inside Illustrator, go ahead and drop in screen grabs from your Premiere file of those 3 down selects. Rotate, scale to size, make a layer mask, and drop the opacity. Trace the forms with Pen Tool and merge them with Shape Builder. Export as SVG and send to the laser. Okay, my friends, pay absolutely no attention to the bad lip reading at this section. This is the part where I look you deep in the eyes and I encourage you to learn Illustrator. It seems like a silly, wonky, intimidating, confusing program, and it may or may not be, but you will be a far better designer if you master Illustrator. It will skyrocket your output. I promise. Now, have some toast and get back to work. Take a beautiful piece of scrap cardboard from your scrap pile, throw it in the laser, tie it down with some magnets, and when that blue button glows, give it a press. A few seconds later, you've got yourself a trifecta of knives ready to be tested. Let's take a look at knife number 1. Fits well in the palm of my hand. Toasts comfortably. Knife number 2 looks good. A little too sharp for me. And I kind of like the faux bolts on the handle, but beyond aesthetic, they serve no function. And knife number 3 is an absolute stunner. I love the simplicity of this handle, and I could toast for miles with this thing. Now, the best part of the design process is you get to make a mixtape of all the best parts. I want to nix that handle, take the round one from knife number 3, and add it to knife number 1, elongating it and making it a little more aesthetically pleasing. Now make sure you don't blink. Oh, you blinked. while you weren't looking, I updated the Illustrator file and cut out an all-new knife. Rally that beech wood, and with the old 1-2 chop, break that baby into 3 pieces. As always, there are many ways to do the same thing. Method number 1, you could trace your template onto the beech wood and cut it out with a bandsaw. Method number 2, print out the template in the video description, trace it on your beech wood, and cut it out with a jigsaw. Or method number 3, my personal favorite, head over to the CNC. This is the ShopBot Desktop Max. I just made this new cam lock system to hold down wood in place without having to use any adhesive, glue, or nails. What's great about this machine is it also takes the SVGs that we made earlier in Illustrator. Just upload them, set your cut depth, and let it rip. A few minutes later, here we have our first knife. Now my measurements were a little off, so it didn't cut all the way through, but easy to cut out, and we can get straight to sanding. Now the knife ended up being much thicker than I anticipated, and I thought I could sand it thinner, but beechwood is so dense that I was getting nowhere. But second try, updated the program to surface the knife a little bit thinner before it cut it out, and it worked like a dream. There we go. I could get right back to sanding. Once the main edges in the face are clean and tidy, we're going to go ahead and create a nice angle to these 2 edges. I tried this way, and this way, and this way, and that way, and it wasn't working. So I went to the edge and had so much more success, and it was extremely satisfying to do. There you go. Look at that. Now onto the other side. Looks good. Continue to round those edges, all the touch points. Use a low-angled light to make sure you didn't miss any rough spots. And if all is well, take a step back from that sander, or you'll remove too much material. And now for our final pass, grab some 220 grit sandpaper, wrap it around a pen, and get it in those hard-to-reach places. Don't forget about those inner radii that no one's going to notice except for you. Now I like to use this beeswax orange oil. It smells like citrus, and it's food safe. Take a little bit on a paper towel and lather it on your knife. Let it sit a few hours and apply a second coat. And if you happen to spill some oil on your desk, go ahead and clean it up. And then remember that you've been conditioning your butcher block desk for years, and you might as well add some more to keep that wood in good shape. Now our story ends right where it began, at third breakfast. Driven by a desire to make everything from scratch and fueled by orange marmalade, the project was a success. Although it's not as mighty as a giant sword, our little spreader does the trick. Remember, enjoy the process, every step. Thank you for making. So glad you joined, and we'll see you next time here at the Toast Bar.